And if we could have Brigadier General Cervantes come forward.
And thank you for your kind invitation to join you this today, this beautiful, beautiful day. As has been stated, we gather today to remember our Vietnam veterans that died in the service of our nation. And in so doing, as you've heard, we joined and continue that strong tradition of officially having established Memorial Day in the executive order signed by General John Logan, the National Commander of the Grand Army of the Republic. And he signed this order on 30 May 1868. This, in effect, memorialized and continued the practice of Civil War widows and mothers of placing flowers on the gravestone of their loved ones. What is often is not known is that a number of widows and mothers did not have a gravestone to which to take flowers. Nevertheless, they went to the cemeteries and they placed their flowers on any number of other gravestones in commemoration of their own loved one's loss. Even though Memorial Day was established in 1868, it was not until 5 years later when New York adopted that as a holiday, and subsequently other states followed, especially when Memorial Day was expanded to include all veterans in 1971. Since the late 1950s, Memorial Day commemoration also now includes the placement of small U.S. flags at the foot of the gravestones of our veterans. This was first started in the Arlington National Cemetery by soldiers of the 3rd Infantry Division. This practice was then spread nationally and now in even private ceremonies or cemeteries. Memorial Day for us is a solemn day of remembrance, a day when we acknowledge the service and the courage of thousands of men and women who gave the ultimate sacrifice for their country. It is a day to remember that soldiers are dying in current conflicts. It is a day to remember that others are dying because of combat-related illnesses and injuries, including Agent Orange. There are, as you know, a number of memorials throughout the country as a tribute to our fallen soldiers. But personally, for me, none of the memorials are so compelling as our own Vietnam memorial that we have here in Sacramento. The other is the Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C. Our California Memorial has brass reliefs here that you see. You see a soldier sitting. You see a soldier being tended by a medic. You see a plaques, the vision of the riverine boat, and a number of others. And these are vivid reminders of what veterans saw and what veterans experienced. The Vietnam Memorial in Washington, D.C., by its sheer size, its black marble face and design, embraces you. Both in these memorials, in Washington, D.C., and our own memorial, gently draws one and encourages you to gently touch some of these engraved names and to pause and reflect. These memorials are special because they reflect the essence of the sacrifice and fidelity to the words honor, duty, country in the midst of social upheaval and the political turmoil of the 1960s. You all well know that when young veterans came home, there was no welcome, nor were there homecoming ceremonies. There were no parades. Indeed, they were often the target of pejorative comments. Time has a way of healing things. Time has a way of healing wounds. Yet, I would submit there are some things that we should continue to remember to ensure that it never happens again. This is the legacy, one of the legacies we must present to the American public, to always respect and acknowledge the service of our veterans. And given that experience, it is gratifying to see not only Vietnam veterans, but Korean veterans and World War I veterans often be at the airports to welcome other veterans home. In seeing and in touching some of the names in this memorial, I wonder what manner of men are these that would go in harm's way, knowing that perhaps they would not return. And with that knowledge, they go and they serve. I often wondered if they could speak, what would they say? Would they say, "Carry on, all is well"? Would they say to their wives and children, "I love you, I miss you"? Would they say, "Don't cry for me, cry for our country"? I wonder if they would do things differently. I don't know the answer to that. But I did find a hint in a World War II document called Army Life, published in August of 1944. I'd like to quote a page from that document. The pamphlet states, and I'm quoting, "As a newly inducted soldier, you will find it necessary to make a complete readjustment of your previous habits of life." Now that's an understatement. You have become a part of a huge organization in which you will live in intimate daily association with other soldiers and conforming to the exact controls and daily military surroundings that will present a new order of life for you. All essential to our great purpose in this war. While you have time, think about what freedom means. America isn't heaven on earth. The streets weren't paved in gold, and some people were in the gutter. But the road ran straighter than any others that mankind ever built. And a man got as far as his work and his brains would take him. Hitler said in Mein Kampf that democracy is like garbage, something to be dumped into the sewer. A lot of people did not believe all of that at first. His enemies did and saw the worst of it. The Czechs, the Poles, the French, and the Dutch, who rose up against him. When Pearl Harbor came, we realized that Americans' freedom was attacked. Maybe the Army is a strange place to talk about freedom. Actually, there could be no better place. Because we have the freedom of speech, we have the freedom of religion, we have the freedom from want, we have the freedom from fear. Because of us, the people at home will have them too. Perhaps the thing you're fighting for doesn't go by any fancy names, but it may be a few acres of fertile land. It may be for your girl waiting for you back home. It may be for your kids' college education. Or perhaps it's because of what your parents shared with you when they came over from the old country in Sturridge. Perhaps It's for something you don't want to talk about. But whatever it is, burn those reasons in your mind. When the order comes for you to risk your life, you'll know the job because you'll know the reason why. This document is signed by G.C. Marshall, General, Chief of Staff, 1944. Some 70 years have passed since those words were written. We have had many conflicts since then. Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, and now the continuing conflict in Afghanistan. Added to the epic names of battles in World War II, such as the Battle of Marne, Meuse-Argonne, and Belleau Woods, there are the epic battles of World War II, such as Anzio, Normandy, the Battle of the Ardennes, the Coral Sea, Midway, Guadalcanal, and Iwo Jima. In Korea, they include Chosun Reservoir, Busan, Pork Chop Hill. In Vietnam, they are Khe Son, Hue, the Parrot's Beak, Hamburger Hill, and Tet, to name a few. To these, we now add Fallujah, Kandahar, Tora Bora, and Mosul. In each of these wars, good soldiers have fought, they suffered, and many of them died. In each of these wars, good soldiers served and gave their all. And throughout these conflicts, succeeding generations of men and women have responded unselfishly in the call to duty. This memorial, as with others, contains many names representing servicemen from every part of California, various ethnic and cultural groups, and many walks of life. They represent the social tapestry and strength of California. And despite their differences, they have one thing in common. They wore the uniform of our nation and served our country. The service of Vietnam veterans has left an indelible and profound imprint on me, and I believe our nation. Many of you here served in Vietnam. Others perhaps have had a father, perhaps an uncle, a brother, or a friend whose names are inscribed here. When they died, a little bit of us, a little bit of what we have died. We lost not only a husband, a brother, an uncle. We lost a scientist, a craftsman, a teacher, a writer. We lost the laugh. We lost a smile. We lost an American patriot. I do not know what these veterans would say, again, if they could speak. But I can tell you about two veterans whose names are engraved here because I knew them very well. They were Lance Corporal Bobby Venegas and Lance Corporal George Cervantes. And they were very close childhood friends growing up together. They joined the military within a week of one another. Just before they were going to be shipped out to Vietnam, they got together and promised, we'll link up. Shortly after they went to Vietnam, they were sent into the cauldron of fierce firefights. A month after being engaged in constant firefights, they were both killed in action. They were killed and they died on the same day, within the same hour, within 5 clicks of each other. Following the funeral of my brother, a very close family friend who served in the South Pacific, approached me. He gently put his hand on my shoulder and said, "I wish it would have been me." Few outside the military would understand the bond that exists between fellow soldiers, that spans across generations, that span across wars, and that span across differences in service branches. Yes, completing the mission is paramount, but also is watching out and supporting one another. There is solace and peace in this memorial. When I come, I touch the names of Lance Corporal Bobby Benegas and Lance Corporal George Cervantes. And I tell them I miss them. But with confidence, as I'm standing here, I can tell you that they would say, I would go in harm's way to protect freedom without hesitation. They would also say two things: that you do as I did, and that you not forget me. As a veteran, a wife, son, or daughter, much has been asked of you, and much each of you has given. In Spanish, there is a phrase, recordar es vivir, which means to remember is to live. And remembering these veterans and other veterans is to honor them, for each is a hero to me. Mahatma Gandhi said that there are four things that support the world: the learning of the wise, the justice of the great, the prayers of the good, and the valor of the brave. I am struck by these words because they are the same attributes ingrained in the service of our servicemen and women. In remembrance of our fallen Vietnam veterans, we can, in our own way, continue to be wise, continue to be just, continue to be good, and continue to be brave as we lead our lives. I say to you, welcome home, veterans. Welcome home. Carry on.
Thank you, Brigadier General Cervantes. And now we're going to bring up the president of VVA 500, Ted Adams.
Thank you, Dave. All right, looks like I kind of jumped the schedule a little bit earlier. Supposed to do a remembering of our own. It's hard to forget these guys anyway. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to just talk to you guys about being a Vietnam vet. When we came home, we were shunned. No organization would accept us as a veteran. We had nasty things thrown at us, names called. We felt like we didn't belong. They told me when I first got off the plane and went to Oakland Army Depot to get new orders and to get a fresh uniform. When on leave, do not wear your uniform. Well, guess what? I didn't care who was out there. I wore my uniform. I'm a Green Beret, 3 tours of Vietnam, winner of a Silver Star. I was proud of what I did. Proud of my uniform, proud of my service. So I wasn't going to let any long hair or hippie bug me. Yes, I had urine thrown at me. I had feces thrown at me. But they suffered the consequences. I'm not saying I hurt them too bad, but they didn't like the outcome of it. But I'm proud of being a Vietnam vet. Again, I was there 3 tours. I was with 5th Group Special Forces, Alpha Triple Deuce Mobile Night Force. 2 tours with them, 1 tour with 9th Infantry as an artilleryman. That's why everybody, when I stand out here in the crowd, somebody says, "Hey, Ted, shut up, you're being too loud." I've got what they call artillery ears. Too many years around those big guns. I was wounded twice, shot in the knee once, and then blown up by a mortar. So I earned my dues, and I know everybody out there, not just you veterans from Vietnam, World War II, Korea, Afghanistan, Iraq, you're all heroes. I don't care what anybody says, you are heroes. Even though we didn't get called heroes, we got called other names. But in my book, you're all heroes. Thank you. Now we'll go ahead and have the wreath playing.
Thank you, Ted. This is the wreath laying portion. We have several wreaths to bring up here. One will be from the Vietnam Veterans of America, members of VVA 500, the 27th Infantry 25th Division Wolfhound members, Association of Former Vietnamese Political Prisoners, Vietnamese former cadets of Thu Duc Infantry School of Sacramento, the Vietnamese American community will bring up a wreath, and VFW Post 67 under the command of Alfredo Sanchez will bring up a wreath as well. And while this is occurring, you might want to stand, and we will have Amazing Grace sung by Diane Titus.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious is that grace appeared the hour I first believed. Through many dangers, toils, and snares, we have already come. His grace that brought us safe thus far, and grace will lead us home. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now
Thank you, Diana. You may be seated.